Welcome to SecTor 2018. My name is Danny Bradbury. I'm here with keynote speaker Bruce Potter, CISO of Expel.io, a transparent MSSP. You just gave a fantastic talk. It kind of went all over the place, talked about a very eclectic career. One thing I was really interested in was that you've worked in so many different places with so many different value systems and perceptions of security. Can you talk about one of the biggest examples of disparity in the way that people approach security between different employers?
I think that you have organizations like banks and other financial services companies that are very sophisticated in the way they think about risk, and they sometimes over-rotate on security. They think about it so much that they may spend too much time and energy on it, but in general, they're very sophisticated in their thinking. They really have their arms around it. There are other examples. I know that I've dealt with a number of law firms over the years, and they kind of sometimes have the mindset of like, why would anyone want to hack a law firm? Well, that's where all the confidential information is, and so having to work with law firms and lawyers to sometimes buoy up their security in a way that they never thought that they needed to.
Well, one of the things I noticed about your talk is that you kind of emphasize this idea of doing more with less. So essentially, especially with tools, living off the land and not necessarily buying the latest big shiny expensive box. Are people trying to sell security tools a lot of the time to people that really don't need them, that could be a bit more economical in what they're doing?
Yeah, I think that there's a natural desire to buy tools. It's easy to buy a tool. In a lot of organizations, it's easier to buy a tool than to buy headcount. When you start hiring people, that's the expensive thing. You can spend $1 million on a tool, but you can't hire a person. And so I think a lot of the tool vendors recognize that and will kind of make use of that to their advantage. The reality is the tool industry and the tech we rely on changes pretty regularly. So even the tool stack that you have today may need to be materially different in 2 or 3 years. So that continued flow of needing to buy new technology is actually a real thing. And I think it's important that companies are heads up and recognize that their tech stack can't stay static over the years.
Bruce, you've worked for so many different companies in so many different capacities, and each of them has a different approach, I think, to security. Where should CISOs come from? Because a lot of these people come from finance. It's kind of their first real exposure to risk in that context, and they're more numbers people. So is that the right place to look for CISOs, or should you be looking elsewhere?
That's a great question. I think there's a real challenge because being a CISO requires an incredible diversity of knowledge and experience to do it well, because there's not going to be a formula of how you should handle risk management within any given company. And I think if you have people who are number heavy, well, maybe you run with that and you build infrastructure and tools and controls that help drive that engine. If you have people that aren't number heavy, you don't need to suddenly become big analytical folks. You can actually just focus on what you're comfortable with, the controls that you know, the technology you know, leverage that to build knowledge to help you make better risk decisions.
And one final question. I think my favorite story from the talk was the way that you assess how happy audiences are with your talk at Smoocon, where you get them to throw the Smoocon balls. So tell me what the thing was that you said that made you earn the most Smoocon balls thrown at you on stage.
Yeah, well, you stand between them and free food and drink, that's the worst.
And it's all over. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I really enjoyed your keynote, Bruce. Thanks so much for coming to the show, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.